Hi everyone, and thank you so much for watching my channel, The Witty Turtle. Till now in PGBP, we have studied many sections where it was written that there will be an interference or intervention of section 43B, right? So in today's class, we are going to understand section 43B in a more detailed manner, right? So if we go back to those sections, then what was exactly being written there? It was written that these expenditures are allowed only if it is actually paid. It is actually paid up to the due date of return filing, right? So in today's class we are going to understand how many expenses are there, what kind of expenses are there which will be allowed only if it is actually paid up to the due date of return filing, right? So the first expenditure will be any kind of taxes, any kind of cess, or any kind of fee or any kind of duty, right? All these things they come under the head of tax only, right? Tax, cess, then your duty and fees. All these things, if they are actually paid up to the due date of return filing, then only they will be allowed as a deduction, right? So your GST is also, as it is also a tax, so it is also included in the list of this. The next point is that any kind of bonus or commissions paid to the employee, any kind of bonus or commission paid to the employee is again involved in the included in the list of section 43B. The third point says that if the SSC, being in the capacity of an employer, is paying leave encashment leave encashment to his employee, then in that case that leave salary will also fall in this category. The next point says that employer's contribution towards statutory provident fund, that is your SPF, then RPF, recognized provident fund, then AGF, that is your approved gratuity fund, then ASF, that is approved superannuation fund, then NPS, that is your national pension scheme, or any fund under any other law, right? If the employer is contributing towards SPF, RPF, AGF, your superannuation fund, and lastly your NPS or any other fund under any other law, so again that will also be included in the list of expenses in section 43B. The next point says that interest on loan taken from any scheduled bank or any PFI or any SFC or any SIIC or any NBFC, right? We have already studied PFI is your public financial institution, SFC is your state financial corporation, SIIC is your state industrial investment corporation, then lastly it is your NBFC, that is your non-banking financial corporations, right? All these things are also included in the list of section 43B. The next point says that any sum payable to Indian Railways for use of railway assets. If the SSC is paying any amount, the SSC is incurring an expenditure by way of paying certain amount to the Indian Railways, and in return the SSC is using the assets of Indian Railways, then again that sum payable or that expenditure will also fall under the category of section 43B, right? So all these six items they fall in the category of section 43B. So what section 43B exactly tells? It tells that all these expenditures shall be allowed as deduction only in the previous year in which such sum was actually paid, right? It will be allowed in that previous year in which it was actually paid, right? Irrespective of the previous year in which the liability to pay such sum was arised, right? For example, you're supposed to pay 1 lakh rupee to your employee on account of leave encashment, right? So in this case, you're supposed to pay it in the last year, but you are paying it in this current year, right? In this particular year, so it will be allowed as a deduction in this current year, right? In which you actually paid the amount to the employee, right? I hope this is clear. So what can we infer? That accrual basis is irrelevant, cash basis is important in this section, right? Here another thing that we need to understand is that if you have some outstanding interest amount, right? You have taken loan from NBFC or from any institution, financial institution, and you are yet to pay some amount of interest. So you have some outstanding interest amount, right? But in that case, if you are converting that outstanding interest amount into loan, right, into loan, the loan which you are yet to pay, right? So in that case, the interest amount shall not be deemed to have actually paid, because you have simply converted the form, right? You are supposed to pay the interest which you have not paid, and now you have converted the interest amount into loan which again you have not paid, right? So again, this will not be considered as you have, as if you have paid the interest, right? Because you have not actually paid it. So it will be allowed only when it is actually paid, only in that previous year when it is actually paid, right? I hope this is clear. The last point that we need to take care of in this particular section is that if the amount of interest payable to the NBFC is allowed as deduction in any of the earlier years, right, in any of the earlier previous years, and it has been allowed on accrual basis, you have not actually paid, but somehow it has been allowed as deduction. So again, it cannot be allowed as deduction in the year where it was actually paid. For example, you have taken loan from an NBFC, and now you have paid the interest amount to that particular NBFC in the previous year, 2020-21, right? Previous year 2020-21, you have actually paid, but your interest was accrued in the previous year 2018-19, and you have already claimed deduction in the previous year 2018-19, right? You have claimed deduction in the previous year, and this year you have actually paid the amount. As you have already claimed the deduction, so in this current year, even though you have actually paid it, still it will not be allowed as deduction, right? It will not be allowed as deduction in this previous year. Understood? पहले क्योंकि आपने डिडक्शन क्लेम कर लिया था, सो दैट्स व्हाई इट विल नॉट बी अगेन अलाउड in the year where it was actually paid, right? I hope this is clear to you. So this was one of the most important classes of your PGBP, and I really hope you have understood section 43B. And yes, after this you can go and solve some questions on section 43B, so that whatever we have studied now, that will be very much clear, right? So let's quickly revise this. What are the 6 items which come under the list of section 43B? The first is any kind of taxes, any kind of duty, cess, or fee, right, including GST. The second point says that bonus or commission paid to the employee, or payable to the employee. The third point says that any kind of sum paid to the employee in connection with leave encashment. The next point says that interest on loan taken from scheduled bank, PFI, SFC, SIIC, and NBFC. The fifth point says that any sum payable to Indian Railways by way of using the assets of Indian Railways. And lastly, employers' contribution towards SPF, RPF, AGF, ASF, and NPS, right? That is a national pension scheme. So all these what do you call this? All these 6 items, they come under the list of section 43B. So all these expenses are allowed only if it is actually paid up to the due date of return filing, right? I hope this is clear to you. So with this, let's conclude today's class. And if you find this video helpful, then please hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, the Witty Turtle, and also don't forget to share this video with your CA and CMA inter and final friends.